Before we begin, I would like to ask all of you to please raise your hand if you use an Apple product. Wow, okay, that's a lot. Wow. Okay, so did you know that for every 8 people on this planet, there is one Apple user?
People often say that Apple sells technology.
But what they truly offer is identity.
The message, if you use Apple, you're not only buying a device.
You are part of the lifestyle. Introducing myself, Tasha, along with my fellow researchers, Jin,
Eric?
Ariel.
Today we are presenting IBA Pro to present you our research, brand experience as a catalyst for customer advocacy, a case study of Apple. So, this is our table of contents that will start with introduction and will end with conclusions. Let's start with our background of the study. Nowadays, brands need to do more than just selling products. They need to create a strong emotional connection with customers, and Apple is a great example of that. Despite its premium prices, Apple has built a cult following with their brand experience through innovation, branding, and community, keeping people buying and ultimately promoting the brands. Even so, previous study has mostly discussed about Apple brand image and product knowledge in relation to engagement and loyalty. However, there's a limited research that integrates all the factors together with brand community and the emotional influence of fear of missing out, which may significantly drive engagement and advocacy. That being said, our study aimed to explore how Apple brand experience affect customer brand engagement and advocacy while introducing FOMO as a mediating mechanism to expand the emotional path from engagement to advocacy. So, to answer our research question, our study is grounded in social identity theory. The idea is that people see part of their identity in the group they belong to. In this study, Apple brand community serves as that social group, driving engagement and advocacy through emotional connection and belonging. On top of that, fear of missing out strengthens this effect by creating urgency to stay included in the community. So our study proposes 6 constructs consisting of brand image, brand community identification, product knowledge, customer brand engagement, customer advocacy, and lastly, fear of missing out. I will explain the definition of each element together with our hypothesis development. To begin with, let me explain about our main research aim, which is customer advocacy. Customer advocacy refers to how customer voluntarily promotes or defend a brand, like word of mouth, recommendation, or giving positive reviews. Now, moving to our hypothesis development. First of all, brand image refers to how customer emotionally perceive the brand. When the customers having a good impression of Apple, they are more likely to engage with them. So, we develop our hypothesis when Apple brand image positively influences customer brand engagement. Next, brand community identification refers to how customer identifies themselves with the community. In this case, feeling a part of Apple community can boost engagement and emotional connection. Therefore, we develop our hypothesis too, which is brand community identification positively influences customer brand engagement. Next, product knowledge refers to how familiar customers with the brand's product. In this case, when the customers are more knowledgeable about Apple's product, they are more likely to engage with that. Therefore, we develop our hypothesis 3, which is product knowledge of Apple positively influences customer brand engagement. Now, I will pass the mic to Ari to continue our hypothesis development.
Thank you, Tasha. Moving on to our 4th construct, customer brand engagement is defined as the extent of the mental and emotional connection customers have with a brand. Engaged customers are more likely to become brand advocates, which is how we came up with hypothesis 4. Apple's customer brand engagement positively influences customer advocacy. Last but not least, FOMO, or fear of missing out, is the anxiety a person feels when they are left out of experiences that might enhance their personal lifestyle. FOMO creates a sense of urgency that pushes engaged customers to become active advocates, which is how we came up with hypothesis 5. FOMO mediates the relationship between customer brand engagement and customer advocacy. Now I'll move on to talk about our conceptual framework. As you can see, the three leftmost constructs are grouped together as brand experience, which drives customer brand engagement and ultimately leads to customer advocacy, with FOMO being a mediator in this relationship. Now I'll have Eric talk about our methodology.
Thank you, Auri. Next, for the methodology, we use the quantitative snowball process sampling to collect data. And we share our online survey via Instagram and Line. From 124 respondents, 121 are Apple users, and 88 of them repurchased the Apple product for 1 until 2 times. It's ranging from 17 until 24 years old, and most of them are from Southeast Asia. To process the data, we use the SPSS software. Next, to make sure that our items are reliable, we use the reliability analysis test. As you can see, we use 3 until 4 items per variable, and the Chroma alpha are over 0.7 means that our items are dependable. For the correlation test, as you can see, all the variable has positive relation, with most of them are significant. This is the output for our first model. We ran the multilinear regression test for the hypothesis 1 until 3, and the linear regression test for the hypothesis 4. As you can see, all the hypotheses are supported except for the hypothesis 3. Move on to our second model, we ran the mediator linear regression test to see how's the effect of customer brand engagement to customer advocacy with the FOMO as the mediator. The first table showing the path A, which the effect of customer brand engagement to FOMO is significant. And the next table showing the effect of customer brand engagement and FOMO to customer advocacy, with the path B showing the effect of FOMO to customer advocacy, and the path C prime showing the effect of customer brand engagement to customer advocacy controlling for FOMO. Both are significant. And we also got the indirect effect, which the result of path A multiplied by path B is 0.048. And this is the total effect for our second model. Based on our data, we found that FOMO partially mediates the customer brand engagement and customer advocacy. With every 1 point on customer brand engagement will increase 0.867 on customer advocacy. Now, we move on to the results and discussion by Jen.
Thank you, Eric. Now for results and discussion, our analysis revealed several key findings about factors influencing customer brand engagement. Let me begin with brand image. The study found a strong positive relationship between brand image and customer brand engagement. This indicates that when customers perceive a brand positively, they are more inclined to interact with it. In Apple's case, the brand functions not only as a provider of technology, but also as a symbol of status, creativity, and individuality. The brand's minimalist design and premium aesthetic appeal reflects personal values for many users, enhancing emotional connections. This aligns with previous study done by Panjaitan in 2022, who suggested that customers are more engaged with brands that mirror their self-image. This insight indicated Apple's success not only lies on its products, but also on the emotional meanings customers attach to them. Next, we turn to brand community identification, which also showed a positive significant effect on customer brand engagement. Apple users often associate with a strong and distinct brand communities, which fosters a sense of belonging. The data supports that the emotional connections that are formed to these communities deepen user engagement. Consistent with previous study, who stated that active participation in community discussions, especially during product launches, strengthens customer engagement. These communities act as a social ecosystems where shared enthusiasm, value, and identity amplify the bonds between the customer and the brand beyond the product itself. Next, regarding product knowledge, our study found that product knowledge did not have a significant effect on customer brand engagement among Apple users. This suggests that for a brand like Apple, engagement is driven less by technical understanding and more by symbolic and emotional connections. As supported by a previous study, Apple's strong brand image, lifestyle appeal, and a sense of community seem to overshadow the importance of product knowledge when building a meaningful relationship with the customers. Now that we've seen how Apple's brand image, brand community identification, and product knowledge influence customer brand engagement, I'll be discussing how customer brand engagement influences customer advocacy with the mediating role of fear of missing out. Our findings show that customer brand engagement strongly influences customer advocacy. Apple users who feel emotionally connected to the brand are not just loyal, but they become active promoters, recommending the products, defending the brand, and also sharing their experiences with others. As previous studies suggested, a satisfied and emotionally attached customers are more likely to advocate for the brand. A study by Kang et al. 2014 also observed that Apple users often feel a sense of community and emotional rewards, which fuels their strong loyalty and brand promotion. Even when Apple's products are imperfect, this emotional fulfillment and brand trust still drive advocacy in the premium tech market. We also examined fear of missing out or FOMO as the mediator. Our study found that FOMO partially mediates the relationship between customer brand engagement and customer advocacy. What this means is that Apple users who are already highly engaged with the brand are more likely to experience FOMO, especially due to Apple's reputation for being exclusive and innovative. This emotional trigger causes a shift from passive engagement to active advocacy. Instead of just liking the brand, Apple users often feel a sense of urgency to share product news, recommending Apple to others, and also visibly show their support to the brand, driven by fear of being left out. Now I'll give the time to Oriel to conclude the presentation.
Thank you, Jane. As you're reaching the end of this presentation, I would like to recap that Apple's brand image and brand community identification are key drivers of customer brand engagement. While product knowledge is found to have an insignificant impact, these results show that Apple users are less engaged by technical features. Engagement then strongly drives customer advocacy, with FOMO being found to partially mediate this relationship by amplifying emotional urgency to support the brand. So, what are the contributions of our study? Starting with our theoretical implications, our study reinforces that emotional identity, social belonging, and brand community, all components of brand community identification, are more influential than functional attributes in driving engagement. This supports the shift in marketing research from purely transactional models to relationship-based branding. More importantly, it introduces FOMO as a psychological mechanism that acts as an intermediary in converting internal emotional engagement to external advocacy behavior. Moving on to the practical contributions, understanding the importance of customer advocacy helps businesses foster shared values, emotional bonds, and belonging within their community. This creates a strong brand community which can generate sustained advocacy, resulting in enhanced loyalty and attracting new customers. Marketers can also utilize FOMO-driven strategies such as limited time releases or exclusive experiences, which creates a sense of urgency that pushes engaged customers to become active advocates. This is crucial in a competitive market where brand trust and community are key differentiators. Even though we have gained valuable insights from our study, it also comes with several limitations. First, the use of a self-reported survey and the respondents being from within the author's social network may introduce bias. External variables such as cultural norms or economic conditions were also not explored, which is why for future studies, we recommend using a more diverse sample size across different industries and also explore the possibility of social FOMO's influence on community-driven brands. And lastly, combining both qualitative and longitudinal research methods to gain more deeper and in-depth insights. So, we begin by asking, what makes Apple fans so loyal? Not just as buyers, but as proud advocates. In today's world, people don't just buy products, they buy meaning. And when brands deliver that meaning through emotion and community, advocacy naturally follows. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how Apple stays on top. Thank you for the opportunity for us to present our research.
Thank you so much, Group 1. So that means we can begin our 5-minute Q&A session. Are there any questions from the judges?
Sure. First of all, great presentation. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. My one question would be, potentially this is covered in your measurement of product knowledge, but I feel one of the factors that stops people from migrating potentially away from Apple is being locked in, almost enslaved to the Apple products and how they're not very good at sharing with other companies, but within the network of Apple things. And I believe this actually led to a recent EU law change in the charging cable on an Apple product because it was causing a monopoly within the industry. Do you think that would be something that should be considered as a opposed to keeping people with Apple?
Okay. Thank you for the question, but can you please elaborate the question, please?
Sure.
Yeah, I just want to clarify.
What I'm saying is, would one of the factors driving people staying with Apple
Yes.
be their inability to transfer to another company because Apple is not very friendly and sharing
Oh,
to the point where EU law or European law recently changed the fact that they had to change their cable from being an Apple only cable that couldn't be used with other devices to a C charger, a USB-C charger, so that it could be more universally used. So do you think that has been something that has stopped people migrating away from Apple, and could that have been used within the song?
okay, thank you so much for the question. That is a very interesting insight for us too. But I think that reason is also can be considered for us to, for people to not migrating away from Apple. But based on our data, based on our respondents' answer, the technical understanding, it refers to the specs, the memories and the cameras. Apple is known for its lower specs than other, let's say, Android phones with like 200 megapixel camera, but Apple only has like 48 megapixel for the iPhones, and people still choose to use Apple products in the future. So, but yeah, so based on our data, product knowledge, and which is technical understanding, is not really important. It's not really important. But for the insight from Professor James Collins, is yeah, we can consider that for our future studies.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to echo what James just said about the idea of how much preparation and how much effort went into your presentation. So I want to say thank you. That was very evident. One of the things I thought that was missing, and I was really looking for it, especially in a good presentation, it brings up a lot of questions. And one of the things that happens is you have to anticipate questions. That's why you need people outside of your group to look and say, what else can we do? Now, the thing that was missing for me was this idea, and you brought it up at least 3 times, brand reinforcement. The idea that people are looking at this brand, they see Apple, oh my God, it's Apple, it's like Porsche, whatever it may be. And I think of McDonald's, I think of Coca-Cola, I think of cigarettes or alcohol. The idea is they're not just selling it, they're saying it's great, I'm loving it, whatever. And my question is, what in your research did you find that Apple is doing to reinforce their brand? I'm not just saying buy it, try it, go there. I'm saying it's like, you gotta have it. Did you notice that at all in their advertising or what they're doing, or are they even advertising?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And yeah, they do advertise for Apple products, but like, so the one thing that we found from Apple that keeps people just keep going back to Apple is how strong they are to build their brand image and the brand. Oh yeah, and the ecosystem also with the Apple products. Like if you use an iPhone, for example, you can AirDrop this feature of AirDrop only Apple has to another Apple product. So the ecosystems of Apple products, I mean, it's very affecting people to keep going back to Apple. And also, what we find really amusing is how Apple can build this social, the image of status, the image of social status that people just want to perceive by their social community to become wealthy, let's say, like rich, like so they keep going back to Apple, or even when people just didn't use Apple before, but they started to use Apple because of that status perceived by our.
I'm sorry, judges, but that concludes our Q&A session. Thank you so much, Group 1. Next up,